Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, I want to apologize for how long it's been since my last Neverwinter tank guide. The last one I uploaded was back in January 2025. And I know many of you have been asking for an update guide ever since. I really appreciate your patience and all the messages asking when the next one's going to come. A lot has changed since then, but one thing hasn't: the fundamentals of being a great tank. If you've ever been told that you need maximum item level, perfect enchantments, or the latest endgame gear before you can tank the hardest content in Neverwinter, this guide is for you. One of the biggest misconceptions in the game is that a great tank is defined by item level. The reality is that item level is only one piece of the puzzle. A tank who understands how Neverwinter defensive mechanics work will almost always outperform a higher item level tank who doesn't. Whenever you're a brand new player trying your first dungeon, a returning player catching up after a break, or even an experienced tank looking to refine your build, this guide is designed to help you understand why your character survives, not just what gear to equip. Instead of simply showing you my current build, I want to explain the mechanics behind it. Once you understand how defensive ratings, percentages, hit points, and item level interact with each other, you'll be able to build a strong tank regardless of what gear you currently have. By the end of this guide, you'll know how to evaluate your own character, make smarter gearing decisions, and build a tank capable of handling endgame content, even if your item level isn't the highest in the queue. Because in Neverwinter, the best tanks aren't always the ones with the biggest numbers. They're the ones who understand the mechanics. So let's jump in. So how item level really works? Let's start with one of the most misunderstood mechanics in Neverwinter: item level. Almost every piece of advice you'll hear is either get as much item level as possible or don't increase your item level because you lose your stats. The truth is, both statements are incomplete. Item level does three very important things. First one, it increases your maximum hit points. As a tank, this is one of your most valuable attributes. More hit points give you healer more time to react, allowing you to survive longer and larger boss attacks, and makes mistakes far less punishing. Secondly, item level unlocks content. Every advanced dungeon, trial, and endgame activities has a minimum item level requirement. If your item level is too low, you simply won't be able to queue for that content, regardless of how well you understand your class. And finally, item level has a trade-off. As your item level increases, your percentages rating become harder to maintain. This is where many players become confused. Your actual rating values don't necessarily go down. Instead, the amount of rating required to reach a certain percentage increases as your item level increases. If you equip higher item level gear without gaining enough defensive ratings to match it, you'll notice your percentages start to drop. That's why some players replace a piece of gear and suddenly wonder why their defense or awareness percentages decreased. Nothing is broken. It's simply how Neverwinter rating system is designed. This means that increasing your item level is not automatically an upgrade, but it's also not something you should avoid. The goal isn't to have the highest item level possible. The goal is to increase your item level while keeping your important defensive percentages at healthy values. Think of item level as raising the ceiling of your character. It gives you more hit points and access to more difficult content, but every increase requires you to improve the rest of your build to keep your ratings balanced. That's the core philosophy of the tank build in Neverwinter. Don't chase item level, and don't fear it. Learn to balance it. Understanding ratings versus percentages. Now that we have talked about item level, we need to understand something even more important: Ratings are not the same as percentages. This is one of the biggest sources of confusion in Neverwinter. When you look at your character sheet, you might see something like 150k defense rating and 90% defense, like here. Those are not the same numbers. Your ratings is the raw value you gain from gear, companions, enchantments, insignias, manpowers, and other sources. Your percentage is the actual effectiveness of that rating during combat. To put it this way, think of your rating as the amount of fuel in your car, and your percentages as the speed you're actually able to drive. The fuel is important, but it's the speed that determines your performance. Here's where the item level comes back into the picture. As your item level increases, the game expects your rating to increase as well. If they don't, your percentages begin to drop. That's why keeping a higher item level piece can sometimes make your character look weaker on paper. You gain item level and hit points, but you didn't gain enough ratings to keep pace with the new requirements. This is completely normal. It doesn't mean that item is bad. It means your build needs to stay balanced. As a tank, don't focus only on how much rating you have. Ask yourself a better question. Are my defensive percentages where they need to be? Because bosses don't care how many rating points you have. They care about the final percentage those ratings provide. Throughout this guide, we'll talk about which defensive percentages deserve the highest priority, which ones are less important, and how to increase your item level without sacrificing the survivability that makes a great tank. Once you understand the difference between ratings and percentages, gearing these sessions become much easier, and you'll stop replacing gear simply because it has a higher item level or a green arrow next to it. You'll start building your character with purpose instead of guessing. Defensive stats priority. Now that we understand how item level and ratings work, let's answer the question I get asked the most: which defensive stats should I prioritize? For almost every endgame tank build, my priority looks like this: defensive, defense, awareness, critical avoidance, maximum hit points, deflect, and deflect severity. Let's go through each one of them. Defense. Defense is your number one priority because it reduces the damage you take from almost every incoming attack. Every healer in your group benefits when your defense is as high as possible because less incoming damage means less healing required and a much larger margin for error. If you're missing defense, every hit feels bigger. This should be one of the first percentages you should work toward capping. Awareness. Awareness reduces the bonus damage enemies deal when they have combat advantage against you. This means, and as said previously in other videos, every boss encounters has combat advantage on you. In endgame, as I said, in endgame content, bosses and ads frequently gain combat advantage, making awareness extremely valuable. The closer this percentage is to cap, the more consistent your survivability becomes. After this defense, this is usually the next defensive stats I focus on. Critical avoidance. Critical avoidance reduces the extra damage you take from enemy critical hits. Without enough critical avoidance, you can survive several normal attacks and then suddenly be deleted by a critical hit. It helps smooth out incoming damage and makes combat much more predictable for both you and your healer. Now about hit points. Hit points aren't technically a defensive rating, but they're one of the strongest defensive tools as a tank. More hit points mean you can survive larger boss mechanics, unexpected mistakes, and heavy damage spikes. It also gives you healer more time to react before you're in danger. A tank with excellent defensive percentages but very low HP can still die to massive hits. That's why increasing item level when you done correctly is so valuable. It gives you more health while allowing you to keep improving the rest of your build. Deflect. gives each incoming hit a chance to be partially mitigated. Unlike defense, deflect isn't guaranteed, it's based on chance, RNG. When it activates, it can significantly reduce the damage from the attack. Because it's random, I do not prioritize it above defense, awareness, or critical avoidance, but it's still a valuable layer of protection. As you can see here, my deflect is at 60 and my deflect severity is at 50. And honestly, once you have all your defensive stats capped, I would dump on deflect and deflect severity because I feel more comfortable and I believe I have more survivability with these percentages and ratings. Now, deflect severity determines how much damage is reduced when deflect successfully triggers. Without deflect, this stat does nothing. Think of deflect as asking, did I avoid part of this hit? Deflect severity answers, if I did, how much damage was actually reduced? These two stats work together, but they should generally be treated as your final defensive improvements after your priority survivability stats are in good place. My final thoughts: no single defensive stat will make you an amazing tank. Great tanks survive because all of these layers work together. High defensive reduces every hit. High awareness protects you from combat advantage. Critical avoidance prevents devastating critical strikes. Deflect occasionally soften incoming attacks, and maximum hit points provide a buffer that keeps you alive when everything else isn't enough. The goal isn't to max one stat and ignore the rest. The goal is to build a balanced character that gives you survivability, that you can survive consistently in every piece of the endgame. Okay, now let's talk about one of the mechanics that separates a good tank from a great one: stamina management. Your shield isn't designed to stay up all the time. It's a resource. And just like your action points or your daily powers, you need to learn when to spend it and when to recover it. One of the biggest mistakes I see newer tanks make is holding block continuously, even when there isn't incoming damage. Incoming damage. When you do that, your stamina slowly drains away, leaving you with nothing when the boss actually uses a heavy attack. Instead, try to think of your stamina as an emergency resource. Use it for the attacks that matter. Lower your guard when it's safe, let your stamina recover, and be ready for the next big hit. Stamina regeneration. This one determines how quickly your stamina bar refills after you spend it. The faster it generates, the sooner you can block again. This becomes especially important during long boss fights where heavy attacks happen repeatedly. Having good stamina regeneration doesn't mean you can block forever. It means you recover faster between mechanics, giving you more opportunities to protect yourself when it counts. Now, another mechanic many players misunderstand is incoming damage reduction. When you block, your shield doesn't make you invincible. Instead, it reduces the amount of damage you take by a certain percentage. The exact amount depends on your class, your powers, feats, equipment, and other bonuses. Think of block as adding another defensive layer on top of everything else. Your defense is already reducing damage. Your awareness may reduce combat advantage. Your critical avoidance may prevent larger critical spikes. And then your shield reduces the remaining damage even further. That's why blocking a powerful boss attack feels completely different from taking it without your shield raised. Why timing matters more than holding block. A common mistake is believing that the safest option is to block every second of every fight. In reality, experienced tanks know when to block. They recognize boss animations, they learn attack patterns, they save stamina for tank busters, heavy hits, and dangerous mechanics. Blocking everything is really the best strategy. Blocking the right attacks is. With my final thoughts, Your shield is one of the strongest defensive tools in game, but only if you manage it wisely. Remember, depending on your class, shield and stamina works like an extra hit points pool. High stamina gives you more opportunities to block. High stamina regeneration helps you recover for the next set mechanic. And understanding how incoming damage reduction works allow you to combine your shield with your defensive stat instead of relying on just one source of survivability. At the end of the day, a great tank isn't the one who blocks the longest. It's the one who blocks the right moment. Well guys, let's just show you a small window of how my stats are within a group, within a dungeon. I have been able to keep my power and combat advantage over 70% to hold aggro, which has been very useful for me. And this comes with the enchantments, but as you can see I have different enchantments as offense and defense balance, and it's because I have the two celestial rings already upgraded and they give extra bonus to different defensive stats. So this is how an ultimate tank build can be, or the setup. But as I mentioned, you really don't need to have all of this to be a great tank. This helps you get to endgame content, and there is a section in the collections where you can check the equipment collection and you can see where each of these pieces are coming from. Some of this tank gear, the latest from the last dungeon, you can get them also from the auction house, and I would recommend getting the helmet, the boots, and the arms. The chest piece is not reliable because it has a cooldown, so you always need a better bonus or something that gives you constant defensive stats. So you can also check here the collection, and I would recommend, if you're new, you can start from the dungeon master demon weapons, because it has one of the beginners, we can say beginners gear with better stats, like the chest piece that increases your critical avoidance, critical awareness. This will help you how to manage your stamina pool, because when you're about to get a tank buster you have to have full shield. You can also get arms, which increases your power, your awareness. The boots, when you're always close to the target, will increase your defense 5%. So you can start doing the master demon weapons for a start. There are also new gear that you can buy from certain campaigns or certain zones, like for example the sky something, I forgot the name, Skyhold. They have gear where you can actually grind some currency to get them, but I can recommend, always try to get gear that in some way helps you with your defensive ratings or increases your percentage. For example, this helm, for every 5 seconds you are in combat you gain defense and awareness, so that it's also a reliable gear. Don't get gear that also gives you whenever you have a chance. Remember, you have to get gear that it's always up all the time. For example, this one, once you collect the gear from demon weapons, you can jump from the mad lair of the dragon, where you can get these boots, which is similar from the ones, the mythic ones from the latest dungeon, which increases defense and awareness when you have hit points all of the time. So as an endgame, the chest piece I have it's from the master trial of Shackles of Divinity, but the new campaign has been grateful to give you a reward when you can pick it up and you don't have to farm that trial. So I would strongly recommend getting the tank piece because it has two bonuses. Whenever you are full health, you have a 4% incoming damage, reduction damage, and increases your maximum hit points. Also, for the weapons, I have the set of the new dungeon because it increases my power and increases my awareness. And I have the set piece from the new dungeon, which also increases my defense and awareness, and it gives you critical avoidance. For, as I said, my enchantments are mixed. I have the new enchantment Shadow Resolve, which it's like the Fortitude Nature. It has the same damage reduction, but with the plus that it has increases your maximum hit points by 50%. With my powers as a paladin, I have the Radiant Slam, I have All Strike to increase my threat, I have Smite combined with Divine Challenger, I also have as a backup Bow of Enmity and my Binding Oath to keep my shield whenever I need, with my Divine Judgment and my Divine Protector Shield. It's just recommended that either of these whenever you use for an artifact called Puppet, so it can work with this one. There is a ring called from the Demon Wet Pits that has the same bonus, Manticore's Bite, and this one also, which there is a legendary ring from the auction house, can be crafted from workshop, which can help you get aggro. I strongly recommend not using this ring against bosses because it doesn't work. So you really need to build your abilities with your tank. Before I forget, remember that this layout, this explanation, it's general for all the tanks, but your gameplay will the gameplay will be left to you on how of which class you are. So I also recommend checking videos for your specific class because I was doing as a paladin on how to play your class. For booms, I completely changed my booms. I took off all the defensive ones because it's 1% and I put it all on power to increase it. I always went with the bulwark too, with this lingering medicine also. Whenever you pop a stone or a potion, you have a chance to continually heal for 30 seconds. Advanced booms, I have the Master Clay increases fort, second wind stamina, call of power for action point gains, and reduction speed with the quick turnaround. And for the master booms, I have life lessons, enhanced application, blessed advantage, and blessed resilience. These ones are whenever you get healed from the healer. From companions, I have my all tie and belts, which gives deflexibility and deflect, with armor break as well to reduce the target's defense by 9%. And companions, I'll strongly recommend also using Undying Overlord because it has a 9% incoming reduction damage. Raptor Instincts for support, and I left these ones up to you, but I strongly recommend whenever you feel comfortable with your defensive stats, try to put some combat advantage because as a multiplier this will help you hold aggro, and don't put all power here, put combat advantage, increases your power as well. For mounts, I have the new mammoth one, but it's recommended that you use support mounts like T-Rex, like Undead Lion, Swarm, anything that increases incoming damage to the target and your companion and your group members. For pack tactics, I have as a quick power increases combat advantage and awareness to the group. And for insignias, having 3 sets of the Guardian Spirit, which having 3 increases by 50% your hit points as well as defense. I have the Gladiator's Gowl, and I have 1 Ice Cold Resolve, which increases power and defense, but I lose incoming healing. But I don't have any inconvenience with incoming healing. As you can see, my Stamina and Regeneration, that's at 7.8, and my incoming damage is at 23. So this is how my latest endgame build is. So, and that's it for this guide. I know this was a lot information, and I intentionally focus on the mechanics instead of just showing you a build. Builds changes, new models release, gear gets replaced, artifacts, companions, and enchantments come and go. But if you understand how item level, hit points, rating, defensive percentages, stamina, and blocking all work together, you will be able to adapt your tank to any future updates without having to start from scratch. Remember, you don't need a fully maxed out character to become an endgame tank. You need a solid understanding of the game's mechanics, mark gearing decisions, and practice learning each boss encounter. Your build will improve over time. Your knowledge stays with you forever. If you found this guide helpful, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. It really helps me know that these guides are useful and encourage me to keep making more Neverwinter tank content. If you have any questions, disagree with something, or have any tips on your own, leave a comment below. I read as many comments as I can, and some of the best discussions and ideas come from the community. Finally, thank you to everyone who has continued to support the channel, especially those who have been waiting since my last tank guide back in January 2025. I truly appreciate your patience, and I hope this guide was worth the wait. Until next time, stay strong, protect your team, and I'll see you in Neverwinter. Guys, just a quick tip. Whenever you have something on cooldown, like your belt or your artifact, and you really need to switch them, and you don't want to wait, just do this. Go to your powers, swap them, and you can actually change another loadout. See, I have my artifacts reset and my belts ready. I can show you now. You have to swap again, go to your character and switch your loadout, and it switch. Hope this is helpful.